by the Connecticut Constitutional Convention. This performance offers a theatrical look at the turning point for our state through the eyes of its leaders, including the legendary Ella Grasso. Before we begin, I'd like to extend some thank yous. First to Lisa Del Sesto, Legal Women Voters of Connecticut, Senior Operation Manager, for her phenomenal work in organizing everything. Thank you so much, Lisa. Also from the Legal Women Voters, Joanne Moore, and co-presidents Patricia Rossi and Laura Smith. From across the street, our friends with the Museum of Connecticut History, Jennifer Matos and Beth Burgess, who helped with the history preview. We also welcome Ella Ramsey, Connecticut State Archivist. We'd like to extend a very special welcome to the families of the 1965 convention participants, especially those who assisted in the development of this program. And in the front is the family of Governor Grasso, Jim Grasso, his son, and I think you'll be hearing from Susan Grasso in a little bit for both the production. Sarah Bernstein, daughter of Simon Bernstein, I have myself, I'm sorry, and the family of Patrick Hogan. We also thank the family of Eugene McCabe. And I'd like to written by Linda Mayer and directed by Amy Baker Myers, she's about to make this work, Ella and the Constitution, is a work in progress meant to be fun and educational. Linda is an emeritus professor at Connecticut University Law School with an interest in Connecticut state constitutional law. Amy is a seasoned community director. Please refer to the QR code in your program for more information and to provide feedback on the show for future development. We invite you to stay for after the show for a talk back. The panel will include Linda, Alan Ramsey, and Wes Horton, Connecticut Constitutional Scholar. And with that,
good afternoon. Now imagine you're sitting here in Hartford, Connecticut on June 15, 1964. It was a time of change, danger, and social division. Nuclear war threatened in Cuba. JFK had been shut down months before. Martin Luther King had just won the Nobel Peace Prize, but the streets outside were far from peaceful. As civil protests continued here in New Haven and the country, the clash at the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama was not far in the future. Vietnam protests were starting up, and the Kent State shootings of student protesters was still to come. Soon, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Robert Kennedy would be assassinated. And into this cauldron of social division, upheaval, and change, the U.S. Supreme Court rocked Connecticut state government with a decision that required a new Connecticut Constitution. My name is Suzanne Grasso. I was 16, and my mom, Ella Grasso, was Secretary of State of Connecticut.
I'm known single, the Legislative Chamber of Hartford, June 15, 1964.
And so for Walbridge, written constitution in the country, possibly the world. So just as your ancestors were able to vote in 1639, your parents are able to vote here today.
If your ancestors are a cat.
Or and in our ancient constitution, your little town of Cornwall Bridge has the same say in the legislature as the big cities do. Because here in Connecticut, every town government gets its very own state representative, regardless of how many people live there. Just as it has always been since the beginning of our state 326 years ago. I like to call it one town, one vote. Now just remember, boys and girls, I'm Representative Meade Alcorn, and I hope you'll contact our office if you or your parents have any questions at all. And now a few words from Mrs. Ella Grasso, our Secretary of State.
Looks like that's a revise that speech, Alcorn. Supreme Court's changed the game. One town, one vote is out. One man, one vote is in. Scene 2, living room, Windsor Locks, late at night.
And now I take you to Windsor Locks, where my mom and I both grew up. I'd like to introduce you to my grandmother, Maria Natalina.
Well, look what the cat back did.
Oh, hello to you too, Mama.
What? You forgot your children?
No, Mama, they're home. I took something out of the freezer for them. They're fine, don't worry.
Don't worry, she said. She took something out of the freezer for them. She said, what? An ice cube? That makes me torture.
Thank you, Mama.
So, what important meeting are you off to tonight, Mrs. Secretary?
League of Women Voters, and it's Madam Secretary. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I thought you were getting married.
No, Mama, I gave you grandchildren. What more do you want from me? Besides, Tom has a wrestling match to referee tonight. Did you hear about the Supreme Court decision?
In the paper this morning.
You should have seen Meade Alcorn today. He was beat red. This decision rocks the whole balance of power in the state legislature. Connecticut, one vote, one town, one vote system is now unconstitutional because people in the cities don't have the same number of representatives per capita as the people who live in small towns. So now we have to change the entire legislative district in every state so that each one has the same number of people in it. The court is calling it one man, one vote. I call it one person, one vote, but I'm not a Supreme Court justice.
Yes. But one man, one woman, one vote. This is fair, no? Hasn't your ladies' league been asking for this for a long time?
League of Women Voters, Mama? Yes, we've been trying to even up representation for decades now. And this is our big chance, at last, to give working people in the city the same voice in state government as the richer folks who live in the small towns. But we'll have to change the state constitution to do it. The last time Connecticut tried to enact one person, one vote was about 60 years ago. And it's the Constitutional Convention alone. And I'm the Secretary of State. It's up to me to make voting fair. This is my chance to make a big difference, Mama. And if I play my cards right, it just might be my chance to be the first woman governor of Connecticut. If I can just bring enough delegates together, I can change the future. Oh, Suzanne, just where do you think you are going dressed like that? Young lady, don't you have homework to do?
I am doing homework, out of my house. And weren't you the square who said I couldn't wear pants? I'm wearing a skirt. How's her words?
That is nowhere near a skirt. That is nowhere near a handkerchief.
You love it, Mama. It's called mini skirt. Everybody's wearing one. Ciao.
Good luck changing that future.
outside the chamber.
What can I say? I come from a long line of difficult women. Well, it's fast forward to 1965, where right in this building, the new Connecticut Constitution was hammered out. In those days, the political leadership was strong, and the Democrat side, no one had the influence and more political power than the power broker John Daly. My mom knew that her political future depended on what John thought, and she had a lot to prove.
Both parties' leadership agreed. No action taken without a two-thirds majority of all the constitutional deputies.
Party leadership? You mean you and Alcorn Sugar.
Why,
2/3, John? 2/3? If voting goes along party lines, 50-50, we will never get anything done.
no, we don't need to. If the convention wants, we'll just send it back to some federal court, some Yale professor will even out the distance for us. No courts. Oh, Alcorn and I are like to be the ones calling the shots on whose district stays, whose district goes.
Yes, so they will all owe you.
It's required only that people vote for your wish list.
My wish list? You mean Governor Dempsey's wish list?
Right, Sheriff. How about the morning to you, Shillelagh Bailey?
Shillelagh Bailey? I haven't heard that one before.
Good factory, come again. Just the Irish horse down in Stanford. It's a carry a big stick.
Well, you do, but I don't think even a big stick will get us to 2/3.
When the state constitutional convention flops are now the Democrats. 50 more votes in the Assembly. 50. Wrapped up in a vote by that blessed Supreme Court. Oh, this constitutional convention hoopla is fine and all that. Doesn't really matter.
It does matter, John. Working people across Connecticut need to know that their own state government has their backs and wants to give them their fair share of voting rights. And if there are other constitutional amendments we need to enact besides one man, one vote, like equal protection, religious equality. I'm Secretary of State. If a convention fails, I fail, and Connecticut fails. If I can get a completely insane 2/3 majority, I can kiss higher office goodbye.
I told you before, if it's governor you want to run for, well, I'm not going to run a woman for governor in this chauvinist state, unless I know the Dems are going to lose anyway. Remember, Patsy.
Pazienza, the quality they want from me, pazienza, as you can see, I want a brother. I've got a backbone and a brain. Not only am I fit to govern, I'll have a long and glorious reign. Hold my train, pazienza, pazienza, the quality they want from me, pazienza. It's hard to see her as a leader, supporting roles better fit. Some she might take time to be a breeder, and she's too soft to take a hit. Shit, scadenza, pazienza, pazienza. Quality they want from me, pazienza. Why not my excellenza? I've got untapped potenza, eloquenza, sapienza, but I don't know. Pazienza!
Embassy. Scene 4. The lobby of the legislative building.
Ella, it's so great to see you. It's been so long.
Oh, good to see you, Eugene. How are you? Mrs. Woodhouse, do you know Deputy Sheriff Eugene McCabe, our delegate from New Haven? Of course. It's wonderful to see you, Eugene. How's Ed
and
Take charge of the first.
I'm glad to hear it. Did you two hear the latest? Bailey and Alcorn have agreed that any constitutional change must require passed with a 2/3 majority. Short woman. That's what heels are for. We've got to make this work. 2/3, it's impossible. That mile, it's uncrossable. We've got to make this work. We've got to make this work. 2/3 takes a miracle. 2/3, don't be cynical. Just wait. We're gonna get the votes now. We're gonna make the lights come. We're gonna make them see. We've got a vision. We've got to make this work. We've got to make this work.
2/3 is unthinkable.
No Kool-Aid, that's undrinkable. We've got to make this work. We've got to make this work. 2/3.
It's imperative.
We'll spin the such a patriotic narrative. That way, we have already come friends. We see the really our friends. We're gonna make them see. We've got a vision. We've got to make this work. We've got to make this work. 2/3.
Can they count the high?
I got the Lord of the suffrage didn't die. That way, just have already come friends. We see the really our friends. We're gonna make them see. We've got a vision. We've got to make this work. We've got to make this work. Go, Ella!
And the scene 5, the legislative chamber.
But the Constitutional Convention was not all sunshine and rainbows. Oh no. Once the Constitutional Convention happened, most everyone wants something new written in that Constitution. Some people want nothing new ever. It wasn't easy to be effective because everyone has to have their say. Keeping the constitutional train on track is never easy, as you. And sometimes you needed a strategic derailment.
The chaplain will lead us in prayer.
Dear God, we ask your blessing on this convention. May it succeed where so many have failed before. Amen. Amen.
Friends, as co-chair of this historic constitutional convention, a bipartisan convention of the finest citizens of our Constitution state, composed of former governors, U.S. and state senators, representatives, and town leaders,
Oh, Travis.
and former chief justices of our Supreme Court of Errors. We recognize that for the first time in the history of Connecticut, this convention isn't all pure Englishmen, but the ladies are present as well, 13 ladies to be exact, all lovely and distinguished, but of course the loveliest of all, our own Secretary of State, and sadly former Republican, Ella Grasso, or as her Italian colleagues know her, Ella Grasso. Madam Secretary, would you like to take the chair to commemorate with appropriate ceremony this momentous occasion?
Oh, Madam Secretary, how have you, as a woman, succeeded in a man's world? Any way I can.
This 1965 Constitutional Convention will now come to order.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Marsilius, Republican delegate from Trouble, you have the floor.
I just want to say that I am glad we are finally reforming our political system. It's not democratic,
That is not right when the town of Warren, population 600, and the city of Hartford, population 163,000, both have the same single vote in the assembly. We need reapportionment. We need to redraw the legislative district lines to make sure everybody's vote counts the same. I may lose my job, but I'm glad the Supreme Court gave us this wake-up call, and I support this convention.
And with all due respect, the delegate from Trumbull is out of order. The reapportionment committee has not finished with its report, and we don't have agreement on the new district map yet.
Mr. Alcorn's point is well taken. In the meantime, the chair will now entertain proposals for reconsidering other constitutional amendments, not about voting districts, but that were previously rejected by the amendments committee.
Mr. Chairman,
The chair recognizes Mrs. Reddick, former Secretary of State from New England.
I would like for the chamber to reconsider my proposed constitutional amendment to stop the fluoridation of our water supply. We shouldn't let some scientists sneak chemicals into our water without our consent, and I would point out to you that if we're exclusive across public water supply, which I'm not, thank God, what's to prevent somebody from introducing into the water systems of the state some other chemicals which may prevent gray hair, may prevent bald heads, or many other disabilities to which mankind is heir. I read somewhere that they are even talking about putting birth control in the water and sterilizing all of us.
This is right. As we discussed in the committee, there are unsaleable health benefits to fluoridation. Experts have shown that teeth.
Experts, Dr. Sadie. Experts. That's exactly the problem. They say it's better, faster, cheaper, lasting, longer, tasting, sweeter, new included, automatic, portable, electrostatic, like a delicate, atomic, holding feature, astronomical, series with its own transistor, nicotine, and game twister. They designed it by computers that we need a rotor, follow wire, tutor, streeter, check out our numerator, all the database analysis, adjustment, deep dialysis, get it with all the chemistry. In the new age of Aquarius, the experts are so various. Who cares about democracy?
They say it's better, faster, cheaper, lasting, longer, tasting, sweeter, new improvement, automatic, portable, electrostatic, psychedelic, anatomic, fully featured, astronomical, fixed with its own transistor, nicotine, and game resistant. They've decided by computers that they need a rotor, follow wire, tutor, streeter, check out our numerator, all the database analysis, adjusting, deep dialysis, get it with all the chemistry. In the new age of Aquarius, the future is precarious, with their democracy. We wonder,
Can we trust democracy?
I believe we all see your point, but your amendment fails to carry the necessary 2/3 bipartisan vote. The chair recognizes.
Excuse me, Madam Secretary, but I believe we agreed your chairpersonship would be, ceremonial.
Of course. I relinquish the seat of honor to our brilliant and distinguished former governor and former Chief Justice Raymond Hall.
The chairman recognizes the gracious Mrs. Woodhouse.
Mr. Chairman, as Mrs. Reddick has reminded us, we live in a fast-moving and often dangerous time. The terror of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the fear of nuclear war, the tragedy of President Kennedy's assassination.
May he rest in peace with Mother Mary and all the saints.
It requires more protection for emergencies than our 1639 or 1818 Constitution provided. On the committee's motion, I offer a constitutional amendment to provide for the succession of our state leadership in the event of nuclear war.
The secretary will call the roll.
It makes you feel small, and so insignificant, Mr. Hogan. It makes you feel old, Mr. King, so very ignorant. Mr. Bernstein, stagnant of hands on the real estate. The future's so strange. Oh, guidance won't do.
One thing were clear, there was a firmament, steady and safe, no chance of development, the maximum line, our safe and turning point, brought into the sky, new habits and truth. It makes you afraid of what's so impermanent. This moment you see a danger so imminent. In this day and age, our hands on the field state. The future's so strange, nobody's going to do.
The amendment passes.
Point of personal privilege. Point of personal privilege, Mr. Chairman. Very important matter has come to my attention, and I can't myself believe that we have not addressed it. Time is of the essence, Mr. Chairman.
You have the floor, Mr. Hogan.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the convention, I have a very important announcement to make. In fact, it has come to my attention that today, this very day, is the natal day, the birthday, the anniversary of the first day of life of the great Ella Grasso. Therefore, honored friends, I move that this convention telegram immediately their very heartiest and warmest of wishes to President De Valera on the occasion of his birthday.
The chair recognizes John B.
I second my colleague's motion with not making a bipartisan, but at least bilateral.
All in favor indicated by aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The chair directs the secretary to send a telegram wishing President De Valera a happy birthday.
With heartiest and warmest wishes.
Unless there are any other urgent matters, we return to the calendar. Judge Burns, I believe you had another rejected amendment for reconsideration.
Yes, Your Honor. I move an amendment to our Constitution to protect against double jeopardy. That is, to protect a man from being tried again for the same crime after he's already been acquitted by a jury. The prosecution should not get a second chance to harass an innocent man.
Bernstein, you were overruled by 2 Supreme Courts.
Get over it. In 1639, our fathers wrote it down so fine. They knew that he could create a Constitution state. In 1639, double jeopardy was not on their mind. They wouldn't spare the rod or the answer to God. And now that us are bored, back down the east says we have to report. We shouldn't compromise, lost hope and pride. Fiction means, and they have no idea what liberty means. Throw up the feathers of the Puritans. It's a just enough to do the fight. We should choose a chance to bring this to life. Our states are here. Let's show the way. Don't start to make some progress. Something that the contract is happening. We let out into the process. We got the chance now for all the picture that we got the distance. We did not really protect the rules that our charter and about constitutional needs to be astray. In 1639, Judge Jeffrey could not deny our king to be free, a constitutional state.
All of the entertainment we can forget about the portion.
I can handle this. Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Again? Fine, what's it now?
I would like to call the convention's attention to today's New Haven Register. It seems that Yale scholars have determined that my Italian ancestor, Christopher Columbus, did not, in fact, discover America. They have decided that Leif Erikson, a Viking, was the first European to reach the New World. As a member of this state's proud Italian community, I would like to register an objection to this scurrilous falsehood.
Hear, hear.
Everybody knows it was Columbus. Everybody knows.
Aren't you forgetting that?
Everybody knows it was Columbus. Everybody knows.
He once were here.
Everybody knows. Italians cannot try.
Indians were here.
Everybody knows it was Dutch. Everybody knows. Everybody knows it was Streletsky. Everybody knows. Everywhere the Polish never cried.
Everybody knows it was St. Patrick. Everybody knows when we were little
Everybody knows it was Moses. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that it was Moses. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows it was Everybody knows. Everybody knows it was Everybody knows. You are first in the town. We are so much pride, and we're on its side.
Well, Ella did manage more than one strategic derailment during that long summer of 1965. But the Republicans were seriously united. Ella knew that the convention wasn't going to go down easy for Republicans because one man, one vote, lots of Republicans who represented the small towns were going to lose their jobs. And Ella had to find somehow to get them to agree to new legislative districts anyway, which meant that she needed to find some way to compromise. Now, compromise is a tricky business because you can't give up your values, but sometimes you can adjust your point of view.
And we've seen, and that's one.
Short 5 minutes.
Act 2, Scene 1, the Legislative Chamber, October 1965.
The chamber will come to order. The chaplain shall lead us in prayer.
May God heal the divisions in this great convention and prevent unnecessary bloodshed.
The chair recognizes Patrick Rhodes.
Honorable Chairman, whose Caesarian leadership has carried us across the Rubicon of apportionment, I am proud to announce that the bipartisan reapportionment committee has a final recommendation to submit to the convention. With condolences to my colleagues across the aisle, I move its adoption. And while my Republican friends may lose their figurative seats, they will be allowed to keep their literal seats with these lovely carvings of charter as souvenirs to adorn their living quarters in the various hinterlands from whence they came.
Don't talk about the elephants in the room. Don't talk about the elephants. It's way too soon. They're not ordinary enemies. Don't talk about the elephants. Don't mention reapportionment in the room. Don't mention reapportionment. It's way too soon. They're feeling kind of delicate. Bad time to be an elephant.
I want to do something about this. Can't you slow this train down?
Never. I rise to an amendment to the reapportionment committee's recommendation. I move that we extend the period of state residency required for the voter registration. Many of our communities host seasonal workers, like tobacco workers from the South, who are not permanent residents of Connecticut. A 6-month residency would keep migrant workers from voting in our elections.
Mr. Alcorn might call to mind that tobacco in his district is harvested long before the November election. Those workers who stay on do intend to become permanent residents here rather than return south. If Connecticut happens to be located below the Mason-Dixon line, this kind of voter repression might draw the attention of the federal attorney general. Mr. Alcorn might have thought for a minute that he was back down in Georgia.
Don't talk about the elephant. Don't talk about your melon. Don't talk about the pigment. White folks forget pigment.
Don't talk about the elephant in the room. Talk race and your malevolent. It's way too soon.
Disagree with moving insolent. Just a tiny baby incident.
The amendment passes, extending the time for voter registration.
If my Democratic colleagues were truly concerned about voting access, perhaps they would join me in abolishing altogether that tool of partisan party power, the party voting lever, and allow voters to split their votes between Republicans and Democrats.
Order. Is there a motion on the floor?
Apparently not at this time, as my colleagues across
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to amend the reapportionment plan by including the adoption of a new equal protection clause, one that explicitly forbids segregation.
Mr. McKay, the Rules Committee, which is proposing the Equal Protection Amendment, which I chaired, recommended omitting the word segregation. It's too divisive.
We didn't write segregation as divisive, we divided. That's why we wanted to forbid.
Mr. Chairman, I ask for a 15-minute recess.
Very well, the convention will reconvene in 15 minutes.
Eugene, miraculously, we got the votes for a new equal rights provision and an excellent reapportionment plan. We can't afford to antagonize Davy and Alcorn over a matter of wording, or the whole thing was down the drain.
Matter of word, segregation. Ella, it's a matter of history. I got brothers and sisters putting their lives on the line out there right now that love to shed some Burlington, Little Rock, Jackson. Segregation is not a matter of word.
No, we just don't have the votes. We're living in democracy. It's more than just a fantasy. We're living in a great state of democracy. You gotta give a little in the seed. You gotta compromise to reach your dreams. Create a coalition. Just wait for democracy. You gotta spread all the love around. You gotta find all the common ground. Irish and Poles have already found. Joining voices we sound loud. We're living in democracy. It's bigger than just you and me. We're living in a great state of democracy.
We're living in democracy. You're living in a fantasy. We're living in a great state and democracy. Smart bullshit really is to me. I can't let my eyes blur. You see, they see my color and I don't break. I can't wait for democracy. You say what goes around comes around. But every time that's on the ground, the only time we get civil rights are the times that we fight. We're living in democracy. We're living in a fantasy. We're living in race hate, and democracy.
Bad, my eyes are blurred. Honey McCabe!
And what are you doing here?
I brought your lunch.
They give us something.
Well, let's just say I had an intuition. Now, where on God's great earth do you think you're going?
You heard that, right? I can't deal with these people anymore. I mean, it's a whole bunch of bullshit. Alone. Leave it to the next generation. I mean, John Clark can deal with this.
John Clark is dying of cancer. I spoke to his wife. He may not make it through this convention.
He never said that.
No, I don't expect he did. I'm sorry, honey.
I'm the one that would know what I'm doing there.
His job, as always, and none of our business. I knew I needed to come up here today. What do you think your mama Polly would say to you right now? Remember who you are. That's what she would say. Now, this is a constitutional convention, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are you?
I'm a delegate.
No, sir. No, sir, you are a founder. And no black man has ever been a founder in this state before. So you got a founder. What did your mama teach you? What did your pastor preach you? You don't give up, you won't give up. I don't care if they hear you. I don't care if they cheer you. You speak your truth, you speak your truth. 'Cause you gotta know how proud of you I am. When you fight on you bring until the end. When you take your bad blows and then you stand. They can never count you out. I don't care if they cheer you. I don't care if they fear you. You do what's right. You do what's right. Our children, they will hear you. Our children, they will cheer you. You speak their truth. You speak their truth. Yes, you gotta know how proud of you I am. I am grateful God has given me this man. 'Cause I know how righteous you will always stand. They can never count you out. Yes, you gotta know how proud of you I am. When you fight on the bring until the end. When you take your body close and then you stand. They can never count you out. And they can never, ever count you out.
As I seen Ella, we gotta find her right away. It's her kid. She's been in a car accident.
And the scene, end of Act 2. Act 3, Scene 1, the hospital room, October 1965.
I used to pray you'd fall asleep. There was so much to do that I'd never get through. I used to hum another night sleep while you left at the beach. I was writing a speech. And you grew out of blue, that you had been through, and your eyes seem to breathe. Please wake up. I used to pray you'd go to sleep. All the calls I must wait, all the things that won't wait. Now I'm here, you're asleep, not a word, not a peep, and the time seems to creep. Please wake up. I've forgotten the name of that old childhood game, and the teacher you had in third grade. And that one Halloween, were you an elf or queen? Maybe I've been the one in a dream. I used to pray you would go to sleep, while campaigns, hopes and fears turn the days into years. Now I'm here, you're asleep, not a word, Dorothy, Mom, I want you to be governor with me. The first woman, you need to be there. No one else can do that for me.
Suzanne, it's a mess. Everyone's divided. There's nothing to be done.
Nothing to be done about you. She's right, Carl. You need to go make a future for her. A future I never had and that I couldn't build for you. I will be here. Go. Go before those foolish men track their bloody footprints all over this brand new Constitution.
End the scene. Scene 2, the Legislative Chamber, October 1965.
Mr. Alborn, you wish to be recognized.
He's up to something.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to congratulate this body on its bipartisan work in this matter of reapportionment. But I would also like to make the record clear that it is a lamentable necessity that requires this labor. The United States Supreme Court should not have interfered with our sovereignty. I would offer one further amendment, which is that if, or when, as I hope, the Supreme Court reconsiders and overturns its overbroad and unprincipled one man, one vote decision, that our previous form of representation by town would spring back to life.
Oh, where's Ella? He's going to kill the compromise with this.
I think this was too easy.
And our small towns have given rise to great men. Men who had the force, the virtue, hard work, and generosity to serve their state for generations, making her a leader among states. It was the small town men who supported industrial reform. It was the small town men who supported the Connecticut Civil Rights Commission, first in the country. And I would like the record to reflect that in no uncertain terms, that there is nothing undemocratic or backward or prejudiced about our historic method of representation here in Connecticut, in which every small town has the same voice in government as the big cities do.
If by every town you mean every cow, Mr. Alcorn, I am tired of hearing imprecations against our United States Supreme Court in this chamber. Reapportionment in Connecticut was 100 years overdue, and there's no need to lament the system of government in which men represented trees, barns, empty land, and rotten boroughs.
Rome! Dear Rome! Rome! Why, you long wicked
To your caucuses, damn it! Don't write that down.
Our ancestors braved all, and early death at sea to follow thee. No more hypocrisy. With liberty to do God's will, hard work and purity, they could see a city on a hill. They cleared the land and plowed it clean, rooted out the evil seed, the devil's breed, forged character and steel, valiant neck breaker back, give the word revealed. We're sinners in the hands of our angry God, but if we just keep on, we will. We'll see the city on the hill, and my word it shall be new. It is our legacy. It is our surety. It is ours. It is our city on the hill.
The forefathers, they were tough. And tough on their kids. No rods were spared, no children spoiled. But you know me, you may have felt tough parenting, but you haven't heard tough parenting until you've been raised by an Italian mother. That's tough with opera. You have one daughter, don't you need?
Oh, yes, Eileen.
I have two teenagers. You suppose they don't think of us as forefathers? We are, you know. We're founders of a new constitution. It strikes me that you and I might be thinking about this in the wrong direction. It's not about what our parents expect of us. It's about what our children need from us. I keep thinking about my son Jimmy. In a few more years, he'll be eligible for this draft. And my daughter Suzanne, she'll be voting. Don't you want their votes and our grandchildren's votes to be counted equally?
For fathers, for mothers? Do you suppose that's the term they'll use for you?
The term we've never needed before now, but your daughter might appreciate it. I gotta see a man about an amendment. Hang in there and be cool, as my daughter says. Maybe you Republicans will get all the grandchildren's votes. And, oh, we can revisit the mandatory party lever. I'm going to buck Bailey on this. You were right about that one. Voters should be able to vote for people, not parties. One man or woman, one vote.
Scene 3, Democratic Caucus Room, October 1965.
And so I told Alcorn we'd get rid of the mandatory party lever. And sorry, John, some things just smell bad.
Good for you, Ella.
Brava, brava! I see winged victory approaching her zenith.
And don't forget, party leadership still parcels out the stage.
You mean you parcel out the stage up.
You're fired, okay?
The legislature might decide to end that too.
If there's no party discipline, then that'll make it hard for the governor to enact her platform.
Her platform?
Or Hayes.
Eugene, I'm sorry. I was wrong to ask you to compromise on segregation. What are we here for, if not to create a fair constitution for all of our children?
I was wrong to leave before the bell. You know what Evan told me?
What?
He said I had to get back in there and be a founder. Right.
I wish you told me that 2 weeks ago. You know, this might be the most important position any of us will ever have. I finally see that.
Most important position. Not governor?
No, the most important, John. And if we can't get the language about no segregation back on the table and pass that equal protection amendment, there's no point to any of it. Anybody know the name John Treadwell?
It's a travel street in there.
How about Timothy Dwight?
College at Yale.
Right, now, who's heard of Zacchaeus Waldo? Nate Terry? Abraham Bishop? And you know what? At the last Connecticut Constitutional Convention, Timothy Dwight and John Treadwell spoke and voted against giving Connecticut a Bill of Rights. But Zacchaeus Waldo and Nathan Terry Delegates who were not famous and not important, they argued and voted for it. And if we had listened to Nate Terry way back in 1818, we would already have one man, one vote in our Constitution. Friends, I have a confession to make. I was blinded by ambition. I was deep inside the game, seeking seats and recognition. Every newsman knows my name, but how many of them know me for longer that day? We all know that fame is fleeting, but the rights we cast will stay. Back in 1818, I convention did you see? Consider whether rights should be dependent on your creed. When freedmen and property were opposed to civil rights, they used their oratory to convince folks they were right. When John Freckles' voice was heard, and he took his shot, he was asked those rights to break, and he said that he would not. It was the hunger delegates, Reverend Waldo and his crew, that voted for the freedom to say where it was. When the votes were taken, Nathan Terry fought for a right so sacred that history forgot.
Zacchaeus, Waldo, and Nathan Terry, they were plain spoken men. They helped to pass our Bill of Rights. I bet you never heard of them.
Way back in 1818, when the last convention met, they were sidelined and divided, but they spoke as they were said. Now so you remember.
Not a college better name.
But the rights they saw enacted, and righteous gain. So give for the fulfillment of farmers' necessities, resisted fame and fortune for the freedom of our state. The moral of my story is ambitions not so hard.
Not so hot.
We owe our Constitution to the ones history forgot.
History forgot.
So my friends, if we remember, or especially if we're not, what's important is the good we did, that history forgot. It is so mercurial, you can say the sun. It's a kind of miracle, if your work is not forgone. Because the years down in
Even so, my friend,
no segregation's ugly, things and not be made again. So here's to the poor, the children of foreigners, who resisted fame and fortune for the freedoms of our state.
like this, will be like this, come to men. If God be our guide, He is to all forgotten, and not wonders may some say. Fame and fortune for the freedom of our day. So the sinful Jews are to those who hell avoid. May we be like those forgotten men who live on in our eyes. May we be like those forgotten men and do what's right.
How are we going to get Baldwin to change his mind?
Oh, leave Raymond to me.
Why do you chase?
I've known Raymond Baldwin since the evening of August 23rd, 1919, on a terrace under the thorn.
That's very specific. And what about Alford?
Oh, he wasn't there.
Will you give Hogan and me some wiggle room now that portion is done?
Yes, I want this to be the best constitution our children can ask for. I want it to be bipartisan. If you can get Alford on board with something especially for his daughter, something for the next generation, and then I think we can have a win-win.
Fear not, we have elements of consequence. Interesting. Scene 4, the legislative chamber, next day, October 1965.
The convention will come to order. The chaplain will lead us in prayer.
Most merciful God, guide the leaders present here today, and let the blind lead the blind away from the pit of doom, and the lame steady the lame away from the chasms of hell. Amen.
The chair recognizes Mrs. Woodhouse, our office secretary.
Yes, I worked for suffrage. I suffered for suffrage. And that is why I rise to support Mr. McCabe's insistence that our Equal Protection Clause bans segregation in those precise words.
Okay, I withdraw my objection to Mr. McCabe's proposal that we add a provision to our new Equal Protection Clause explicitly forbidding segregation. To please the lady.
I move that the reapportionment bill pass along with the proposal adding the Equal Protection Clause and explicitly forbidding segregation.
I second.
Oh, the chair recognizes Mr. Alpo.
Now what's he up to?
Point of personal privilege, Mr. Chairman. Before we vote, I would like to ask my colleagues for the courtesy of extending a formal farewell and a well done to my aide, Mr. Doble. He graduated from Harvard High School just last week and has been called up to serve in the United States Army in Vietnam. I would ask that you recognize the sterling work that he has done in supporting this convention and the great service that he'll be doing serving his country by awarding him a letter of commendation. This young man, only 18 years old, he cannot vote, but he has served this chamber and our country, and may even be called upon to fight and die for us. We Republicans have been resistant to change, but I say that changes right now. I propose a final amendment to our new Constitution, giving these young people the right to vote at the age of 18 instead of 21. The world is changing, and we are a young country. The young should be able to have their say in it. Here's to the young Republicans.
Yes. The chamber will come to order.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to the amendment. In support of the amendment,
The chair recognizes Mr. Hope.
when I was just a lad of 17, I braved the British drum. When I was just a lad of 17, I saw friends die for lives of freedom. 1916 and 17, I stood with them on day Rivera. On Easter, in the morning, on the bloody streets of Dublin. We fought there, we died there, for freedom and our honor. We were men on day Rivera. I was just a lad of 17. They locked us up in iron cages. When I was just a lad of 17, we sang of heroes of all ages. 1916 and 17, I stood with them on day Valera. On Easter, in the morning, on the bloody streets of Dublin. We fought there, we died there, for freedom and our honor. We were men of day Valera.
Migratory need for proposed amendment fails.
Alcorn, I voted with you for once. If Vietnam drags on, Connecticut will give these young soldiers the vote in the end. I just hope it isn't post-mortem. Come here, Hogan and I have an idea. We want you in on this, bipartisan.
The chamber will come to order.
Mr. Chairman, my colleagues and I would like to offer a constitutional amendment.
It's just a short duration of dedication to the right of education.
In light of state traditions and juries of human mission for the adequate tuition. So after all the consternation and the nearly penetration of our colleagues in convention, we hope to end the altercation in a common confirmation of our era of education. In short, we commend to your amendment, a constitutional amendment, in celebration of the growth in the provision of public schools. If that course growth etiquette in the many portionment in Connecticut. And we've got Yale finest institution already written in our Constitution.
It doesn't take much penetration, we're the finest in the nation, and support its immigration.
In short, we commend to your amendment, constitutional amendment, in celebration of our mission to continue state provision of public schools.
I just put two and two together and made five. What's the right to a quality education plus a right to equal treatment?
A right to an equally funded education from Greenwich to Bridgeport.
And from New Canaan to Hartford. So about the elements in the room, the education funding equity is linked to students. I think it's relevant, but don't talk about the elephant.
I would like to make a motion to approve the new Constitution with the new Equal Rights in Education Amendment and the proposed language on legislative reapportionment.
I second.
It seems we have a bipartisan agreement.
Thank God.
I believe we can proceed by voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
In opposition? Great. This chamber will come to order, please. Secretary Grasso reports that Governor Dempsey is pleased with our work and proud to support this new Constitution. As we sum up these historic accomplishments of this body, we'd like to extend a special thanks to our brilliant colleagues, Mr. Alcorn and Mr. Bernstein, who led their caucuses in creating this bipartisan achievement, and to our beautiful Secretary of State, who we hope will continue to work her magic in the future, governmental positions, and with any luck, return to the GOP.
Don't hold your brilliant breath, beautiful breath.
I also would like to remember the ladies, as Abigail Adams put it, and thank our female colleagues for their historic presence and contribution.
Still invisible.
We have conformed our Constitution to the mandates of the Supreme Court without rendering the fabric of our own society and tradition.
But we have brought our 17th century Constitution into the 20th century with not only equal voting rights, but a brand new equal protection clause and a new right of education.
We have reenacted most of our 1818 Bill of Rights, rejecting most changes.
But we have restored equality of all faiths before the law.
We have mandated our independent legal traditions.
But we have renamed our Supreme Court so that it will no longer be known as the Supreme Court of Error.
We have upheld the honor of our legislative branch.
But we have enacted important reforms to reduce the influence of party on politics.
We have guaranteed local control of our small towns.
But we have equalized the voting power of those living in the city.
We have a lot to be proud of today.
But still more work ahead for tomorrow.
Can't you just let me have the last word?
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
The chair once again recognizes Mr. Hogan. In fact, he hasn't changed a bit.
I am honored, humbled, and blessed to be able to convey to this convention that we have received an important communication from His Excellency the President of Ireland de Valera, who thanks us for our birthday greetings and gives us all his promise and heartiest wishes for success in all our endeavors in the cause of freedom and democracy.
Congratulations, Madam Secretary, we pulled it off.
We pulled it off. Now, who are we?
We are the founders. We are the founders of Connecticut, with the fair natural, and the future is our blood.
We are founders. We are founders. Don't be back home, we're out in the courtroom. We are children of
We work together for the great state of and democracy. We build a broader new foundation
To reach a higher aspiration.
Yes, we understand how the promises kept. We've got one in democracy. It's not just another fantasy. We'll work together for that great state of democracy. We are the founders. We are the founders of Connecticut, founders of Connecticut. And the future is ours. We are the founders, we are the founders. Come and take my hand along the way. And our children are their boys. We are children
More or less, with a ton of poetic license and more than a touch of imagination, a super duper bit of imagination, how we got our 1965 Connecticut Constitution. And of course, in 1974, my mom finally achieved her dream of being the first woman governor in the state of Connecticut and the first woman in the United States elected governor in her own right. And did we live happily ever after? Well, that's up to you, because you are, everyone in this room is a founder of our future. And I thank you for everything you do and everything you have done. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much for coming this afternoon. Now I would like to invite Wes Gordon, the king of Connecticut Constitutional Law, to come and join me for a little bit of question and answer and a little bit of talk time. But first, I would like to say thank you so much to Kim and Lisa and Joanne and everyone who made this possible. Thank you so very much. And thank you all for Thank you all the family members that gave me the time to give me time and information to this program. This is really, really fun. So, questions, thoughts. If you want to, you can look on your program. There's a little QR code, and that will give you all the background and all the why I told this story. So you can look at that as a measure, and you'll be able to do your own research.
But I just think one, and that's, I just want all of you to know that I've been to lots of musicals and things about legal issues in 1965. It's not made up. It's large. It's like Hamilton. Hamilton's great. That's what really happened in Hamilton because he worked with somebody. And you're I want to make one comment, and that's the education law. And it's very important. You mentioned in the description that it was Simon Bernstein that didn't say why that's important. He's the guy who actually was most responsible for getting education law. And he's somebody you remember well. Without him, there would not have been. I've done what I can. You know, there's only so much lawyers and courts can do about any problem, and that really is not a problem. And in my mind, things are much better off. Let's start with important versus Western case of the school financial, which let me point out first of all about the school financial case. That's the case that was discussed at the very end about keep your mouth shut. You know, so Republicans don't know what's going on here. The thing is, Chloe and I live in Hartford, in the West End, and right across the street from us was one of my big brothers, John Boney, and I was talking to him about the Oregon versus Mexico case, and he said, "Yeah, I just wanted to know that if I had known about it, I would have voted no." It's a good reason we want founding fathers to be dead. If you're running your cases. And then the Shepard's O'Neill case was based on the Oregon case. Neither one of them could have been decided in favor of what they were, except for the 1965 Constitutional Convention. And adding the word segregation turned out to be very important in the Shepard's O'Neill case. And to my mind, the fact there are problems today, think what it would have been like if the Supreme Court had not decided the Oregon case or the Shepard case the way it did. Just like if the U.S. Supreme Court hadn't decided one man, one vote case in the 1960s or something today. So it's not a question of having to solve all the problems. Are we better off than we would have been? So I feel good about that.
How were the delegates chosen?
That's a really interesting question. There was nothing in the 1818 Constitution that told us how to do a constitutional convention. So the legislature worked it out that they would do 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans from each of the congressional districts, right? And so there were 84 delegates. And so it was evenly split between Republicans and Democrats. 50-50.
The nice thing about this, and you saw it sort of in the banter between Ella Grasso and me Alcorn, is they were, as you point out, they were friends. They were next door neighbors practically. Mr. Locke. And they acted the way, you know, you just wish politicians would act today. They can disagree, but at the end of the day, they actually talk to each other and get things done. And I think that's one of the remarkable things about the 1965 convention is the Republicans and the Democrats actually talk to each other. And they, you know, the other thing that's interesting is, unlike the 1818 Constitution, which most everything happened out on the floor. This isn't done that way anymore. You know, it's very frustrating when I was reading the quote debates. Nothing happened. You know, I mean, all of a sudden, the proposal for reapportionment just came out of committee. It was all done with John Bailey's with his cigar, you know, in back rooms, and there's nothing might say. There's nothing officially out there exactly how. All I know is it came out and everybody agreed. They all said I was exactly the truth. In 1818, there were committees, but the most important, and it was very common 200 years ago, it was very common that actually you debated things and you thought about them in public. You hear about, all the great senators in the early 19th century that had their big debates and actually were deciding things. So it was a little frustrating reading this post debate. They were like Hogan, top and off.
You talked about the partisan balance, so how about the balance between the House and Senate? And one of the big factors was they kept Senate terms at 2 years rather than 10. I didn't know if they didn't count that.
I don't know. Good question.
The sequel.
Well, I mean, this has been since I started this program, so this was kind of my middle while I was sitting around the house. And it's changed a lot. Ella Grasso became the major character in the play. The arcs of the various characters got more narrative. I got less law and more human, a little bit of these and more human. So it was also, these guys. I mean, this cast of life friends have shaped this thing by the way that they made these characters. And they came over to my house and they did table readings and they supported me and they did another run through another sort of stage reading for me last summer. And that really, really helped me see the people as they were going. So please, my cast.
There were some of the things, by the way, that you brought up that didn't get through. For example, they didn't he didn't do that. It came up later on, 70s. And also, he did win on the 6-month residence idea until it got struck down. Later on, but he did win that.
Yeah, the other kinds of things that were debated, they talked about having a unitary legislature. They talked about having a lot of changes to criminal procedure rights that got shut down. They thought about having a right to collective bargaining that got shut down. They talked about having a Ninth Amendment kind of reservation of rights clause that got shut down. So there were a lot of things that did not get through, but they considered really, really foundational things.
They also wanted to put in an amendment to the condemnation law.
Oh, that's right.
They basically made it almost impossible to condemn property, and as the U.S. Supreme Court case, I argued Kelo versus London, I never would have won that case if that provision had gone through because it was very difficult to condemn property in that case.
Yeah, that's right. There was a lot of debate over eminent domain, probably hours and hours of debate on the floor about that. And they ended up submitting that possible amendment to the electorate separately. Yeah. And the electorate voted it down.
Okay, time for one more question, and I'm going to be particular and ask Joanne, who is the solution, that you had a question on your hand.
Actually, they just answered that.
Well, thank you all very, very much. We have to clear the building.